But I'm fairly optimistic. I think that no matter who wins in the culture war, this is the end of the American empire. It's the end of this global American, mission. Military bases overseas will probably start shrinking. And the reason I think that is the right side, whatever that really means, I don't know. Because it's not about conservative values necessarily, but it is more about anti-war. It's about freedom. It's about personal responsibility. I think if that succeeds, like Trump supporters, civil libertarianism, you've got no willpower towards foreign war. Zero. None of these people want it. If the establishment ends up winning, if the left, you've still got the progressive flank coming in, and they're just chaotic and destructive. So if the personal responsibility individualist faction does succeed, America is going to come back to just working for America. And then the end result, the left should be cheering about.
Well,
real quick, the progressive activists should be celebrating that Trump supporters hate war. Instead, they're combating against them, which says to me they're just chaotic and destructive. So if the Democrats are the establishment uniparty is not long for this political world.
I was going to say that I think isolationism, we had that before World War I think. And part of why World War I broke out is because the U.S., looking back, maybe wasn't involved. Not really, is it not the reason why, but the military-industrial complex basically was in 1946. I think the liberal economic order got created basically to put American military bases all over the world, British, American, French military bases, and then make sure that another World War III never breaks out, another World War never breaks out. And I also agree that American imperialism is on a decline. I don't know if that means that there's not going to be any military bases, America's going to isolate, and then a world war is going to break out. That cannot happen. That is, to all these military authoritarians, they do not want that to happen.
You've got the Joe Biden special interests that are basically selling us out to China. Mm-hmm. So if they gain power, then the U.S. just crumbles, I guess. They want to sell off all of our assets and resources to China and extract the value from this country, and then we're left holding an empty bag. And then you have the Trump side, which says we want to defend our borders, bring industry and jobs back to the United States, and then there's not going to be any power or force of will towards international conflict from the United States at the very least.
Do they consider Iraq part of our borders?
What, the right?
No, like Joe Biden. I know it's a question you can't answer and you don't know, but do you
think
that
Joe Biden probably does. Here's what we got going on. One of the reasons they really hate Donald Trump is because their long-standing plan with Europe, natural gas, oil pipelines, and all that was disrupted to such an absurd degree. Boy, were they spinning. They wanted to build the pipeline. I've talked about this, but they wanted to build the pipeline, the Qatar-Turkey pipeline, through Syria, through Turkey, into Europe to offset the Gazprom, gas monopoly. As soon as Trump got in, they knew that plan was done. Everything they had been working on was going to be shut down because Donald Trump didn't want to be involved in these foreign wars. He didn't want to be involved in Syria. He didn't want to be involved in Afghanistan. And that meant the United States would not be able to win this international conflict in the region. So they did everything in their power to shut him down. Further, Donald Trump, here's what I really think. I think Donald Trump genuinely was like, I don't know why we have any of this stuff. And the bureaucratic state is probably like, listen, we have a plan. You need to do this. And he's like, I don't care. He's like, America, I don't know why you're doing this. And he ignores them and he won't listen. And then stumbling, bumbling Donald Trump, and I know he's not really, but in this one capacity, he stumbles upon a video of Joe Biden demanding a quid pro quo with Ukraine. And Trump gets on the phone. He's like, what's that all about? And the bureaucratic state goes, no, that's our plan. We have a company, a proxy company we've set up in Ukraine. The vice president's son is on the board. We got a former CIA director. We are working Ukraine to get gas into Europe. And Trump just blurts it out. And then that's why they did everything in their power to stop Trump. It wasn't about fascism or racism. It was that Trump he wasn't supposed to win. He was not a part of their stupid plans, and he was dismantling them. And for 4 years, he really set them back. Now Joe Biden is left with the neoliberal establishment, neocon uniparty plan just in shambles. And I don't think they can recover from it, to be honest.
I would push back a little bit. So he had some populistic policies that do deserve to be commended and respected no matter what side of the political aisle you're on. But he did continue the war in Yemen, fighting alongside al-Qaeda, fighting alongside the Saudi coalition, creating one of the worst humanitarian crises in the world. He did give Ukraine lethal weapons. He did send a crap ton of drone strikes to the point and extent where he stopped even listing them and even being transparent about them. And then he also bombed Syria because his daughter came to him and said she saw a scary video online, according to Donald Trump's own son. But with that happening, he brought us very close to war with Russia.
That fits. That I don't think we disagree. The Yemen, Afghanistan stuff is what Trump knows. He knows 9/11. He knows that. So when they come to him and say this, he goes, oh, okay, I'll do that. I'm not saying what he was doing was good. I'm saying he was dismantling their plan because he didn't understand or care about their, circuitous plan towards gas, interdependency. And when it came to bombing Syria, yeah, you're right. It was his daughter. The bureaucratic state. Trump hated the head of the FBI, hated the CIA. He didn't like any of these people. They had smeared and lied about him, so he was ignoring them outright. But when it came to his daughter and his son-in-law, he was like, sure, I'll do what you guys say. And so they couldn't control him. And I'm not saying that means Trump was doing good things. It just means their real reason for opposing him is that, I'll put it this way. It is said, and tell me if you guys agree, that the deep state, I just call it the administrative state, they have plans. And those plans extend beyond the terms of the sitting president. So when the new president comes in, they say, here's the operation we're currently working on. And typically the president goes, okay, you got it. Obama would do it, right? Bush would do it. And then Trump gets in and he goes, no, I'm not going to do it. You can't tell me what to do. I've got plans. And then all of a sudden they're angry and freaking out because Trump isn't playing ball.
100%.
There you go.
Yeah, there was an aspect where he was a bull in a china shop, and he said, well, we're just going to take the oil in Syria. I'm going to leave the military there. And there was also military individuals that were lying to him about the exact numbers of U.S. troops inside of Syria, which is also mind-boggling when you think about it in that kind of perspective. But I think he should always be judged on his actions in each direction. But
I agree.
But I think a lot of people weren't expecting him to be in there, and I think he capitulated some. He fought some, but I think that's up for a lot of people's own personal interpretation
way too
of
much,
how they see it.
Yeah, way too much capitulation, and I'm sure you guys have covered this in a different conversation, but my theory without any evidence is that he took a dive on Snowden because they made him. How do you explain that?
And Assange, too.
Yeah, Assange.
And Ross Ulbricht.
Yeah.
That he couldn't do it. I kind of feel like Trump thought he was gonna get a second term, and so he was, I'll hold back a little bit because I want another term. And then when it started looking bad for him, he said, I can't go crazy because I'm gonna try again, and he thinks he's gonna get it in 2024. And then I'll tell you this, man, if Donald Trump takes the White House in 2024, he takes the election, and then in 2025, come January 20th or whatever, there is another Trump administration. He will emerge from that White House with glowing red eyes and energy emitting from his body as he raises his finger and he says, arrest them all. And he just goes after every single one of these people who wronged him or slighted him, who smeared, who lied, because he's going to be unrestrained. He's just going to be, I'm done playing this. I'm willing to bet he'd fire Fauci right away.
I don't like the arrest. It sounds like political persecution if a president gets in and starts arresting his enemies.
People who broke the law.
Yeah,
lots of them.
A lot of them are breaking the law right now.
There's a lot of documents. They should be arrested.
All the executives. It's not illegal when the president does it. That's
Trump
a trope.
Trump also just a couple of days ago said it's hard to criticize Biden now because Biden congratulated him on his promotion of the vaccine.
Oh my God.
So there's also that as well. And then Donald Trump also doubled down and made veiled attacks against Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, for not publicly talking about his booster shot allegedly that he took, according to Trump, who's attacking him now. It was only a matter of time until the two people butted heads.
I'm not saying Trump will be right to do it. I'm not saying Trump is correct in every action he's taken. I'm saying Trump will get in office and be like, this is my one chance. I'm not going to play around. I've learned from the mistakes I've made. And he's just going to say, I want the documents released, release them now. And he's going to walk with these people. He's going to say, I'm going to follow you to the archives, and I'm going to watch you publicly release these documents right now under my orders as president. Because when he would do all this stuff last time, they'd be like, you got it. And then they wouldn't do it. And then Trump would forget about it. He is going to go off the rails. He is just going to be like, I'm not playing games anymore.
He strikes me like a really bright, hot fire that's burning off of not a lot of fuel, like paper. And it's really, really intense. But if the wind blows, it just goes out. And you're like, where was he when we needed him? Where was he when Assange is rotting away in prison? Where was he when his daughter came crying to bomb a country, so he did it? Like, we need strength and consistency. I don't want this bombastic, loud,
I hear you, man.
Clown show anymore.
I hear you on that. I mean, I've often said I'd meet all these people who would say I voted for Trump because I liked his policies, but man, I wish the guy would shut up. But I will also add, I think there's going to be a lot of people in 2023. A lot of people have suffered under Joe Biden and the Democrats in the past year. The lockdowns have been miserable. Kids are upset. Children have committed suicide. I know a guy whose kid took his life, and it's a horrifying story because he got locked down and they didn't see it coming. These people, many of them are just going to want revenge. And are you going to get revenge with Ron DeSantis? I'm sorry, the answer is no. Ron DeSantis is younger, he's calmer, he's collected, he's got a lot of things right, a lot of people like him. But Donald Trump would be like unleashing a bull, but this time the bull is on fire.
That's a good point. This kind of anger and redemption, because I was just going to bring up DeSantis again, because I think DeSantis is going to give Trump a run for his money. I think a lot of people like DeSantis a lot more than they like Trump. I think there's a lot of broken promises with Trump. I think there's also a lot of clear corruption, a lot of promotion of big pharma. When, on the other hand, you have DeSantis that has essentially stopped the narrative in its tracks when it was Donald Trump that said it's only going to be 2 weeks to slow the spread. It was Donald Trump that instituted warp speed. It was Donald Trump that, said, here, Fauci, control the country, do whatever you want, when DeSantis did completely the utter opposite of that. And I think when it comes to that revenge, that aspect is going to be hindered by the fact that Donald Trump caused a lot of the pain that the American people are suffering with, that the Democrats continued by continuing his policies, while DeSantis was one of the only people standing in the way of it and saying, no, I'm not going to implement your mandates. I'm not going to implement your lockdowns, your restrictions, your bullcrap on my people, because I believe in personal freedom and personal liberty. And because he made that stand, I do believe he's going to win out against Donald Trump in the larger public opinion.
Luke just wants us to move to Florida. That's why I say
I love Florida, so I am biased here from my perspective. And DeSantis isn't perfect. There's also some things you could criticize him on. But by and large, you see Florida leading the way against the lockdowns, the mandates. Texas was following very closely what Florida was doing, but Florida was the first one that initiated a lot of these major moves that absolutely broke this COVID narrative, that actually broke a lot of this nonsense and stopped it in its tracks. And that's why I do believe DeSantis and Trump are fighting already. It's going to be a big fight. It's going to be a fight that's going to be very entertaining. But at the end of the day, I think DeSantis absolutely has this one in the bag.
Yeah, Trump has a lot of baggage when it comes to lockdowns and it comes to vaccine mandates. I think, he is, as you mentioned, he's the guy that platformed Fauci. And if you go back and look at what was going on at the time, he really got sort of led around by all of these healthcare bureaucrats that absolutely wanted to impose this radical new experiment on the American people. And combine that with the fact that he wants credit for the vaccine, he's going to say a lot of dumb stuff about it right now. And I think DeSantis looks a hell of a lot better in that particular argument. And DeSantis did it. And Trump talked about it. Like, his first instinct was right. And when they first said, "Oh, let's shut down the economy," Trump's like, "We can't do that." But then the bureaucats convinced him.
Yeah, 2 weeks to slow the spread.
And
that's how it started with the Trump administration. Yeah. People don't get that.
Do you think Donald Trump would rather heal everybody of COVID, but no one knew it was him forever? No one, and Biden got the credit, or have people suffer for another year and then slowly come out of it, and then he gets the credit?
It's all about credit.
I think it's all about credit for that psychopath. Yeah. That's insane.
Yeah.
Well, you can't get mad because someone agreed with you, and all of a sudden you're like, that proves it.
Like
it's a hypothetical.
He cares more about what people think than about getting the job done. When it comes to the vaccine, he wants the credit for it.
I think that's Trump derangement syndrome. I certainly think Trump is egotistical and narcissistic.
You're right. I'm making an assumption of what he thought, and that's not.
But
he wants credit for the vaccine.
Even Joe Biden, I would imagine, if someone came to him and said, "I am the great fairy, Joe Biden, and I will cure everyone of their ailments, but Trump will get the credit," I still think Biden would be like,
well, Biden's trash too. Anyone
I know,
that's
but I'm saying
let their ego get in front of public safety is
the idea of the cartoon villain. I don't believe is real for the most part.
Yeah.
It's like, I'd rather everyone suffer. I don't think Trump is like that.
It's not I don't think it's a cartoon. And I think the problem with politics and politicians is that they face incentives where if they get credit for things, they win, and if they don't get credit, they lose, and nobody wants to lose in politics because the whole point is winning. So the very nature of the process of politics is corrupting, and it's based on ego and arrogance and fatal conceit, and Trump is sort of he is sort of leans into that caricature, but he's not all that different than all these guys.
But he's a military commander in chief at that point. And when the George Floyd riots broke out day 2, I said to Tim, we got to get the National Guard in there now. And it didn't happen day 2. Day 3, still no National Guard. And then people started getting shot. And he didn't want to get called a fascist. Trump didn't want people to think he was a militant fascist. So he didn't send in the National Guard. He just let things burn.
That's tough. I mean, I don't know what the right answer is.
Well, there's a lot of nuance.
It's that he's mentally, he cares more about the way people perceive him than...
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to watch live, you can check out this channel Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Now, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and if you want more unfiltered and uncensored content with all of these guests, go to timcast.com and become a member. All of these guests you know and love in exclusive segments on our website where we are unrestricted in what we talk about, so you'll definitely not want to miss it. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all next time.